Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you. Welcome to Medical Qigong Practice. My name is Mary Frances. I am one of Henry Junwali's students. Happy Friday. Today for our practice, we're going to be concentrating mainly on the Golden Eight. But for our warm-ups, we're going to do the circular breathing. So let's go ahead and open up. Settling into the space, the feet are parallel so that the channels are open evenly in the front of the body and in the back of the body. We're letting the bottoms of the feet melt into the earth, softening the knees, relaxing the low back, maybe dropping the tailbone a bit. Softening the shoulders, allowing the tip of the tongue to touch the roof of the mouth, while at the same time relaxing the jaw. And then elevating the very top of the head, letting it reach just a bit up into the sky, creating some space in the cervical spine. We're breathing in and out through the nose, giving our brains a chance to rest, giving them permission for the next 30 minutes just to focus on the breath, to relax into the breath and let everything else go. And then we're going to allow the arms to float just a little bit away from the torso, creating some space underneath the armpit. This is allowing some circulation of the chi. From here, we're going to close the eyes and begin our circular breathing, inhaling through the nose, using the mind's eye, the mind intent to guide it down to the lower dantian. That's that space, 3 to 4 finger breaths beneath the belly button. We're exhaling also through the nose, down to the perineum, the lowest aspect of the torso. Inhaling up to the big spine point. And then exhaling to the palms. Inhaling down to the lower dantian. Exhaling down to the perineum. Inhaling all the way up to the big spine point. And exhaling to the palms of the hands. Inhaling, guiding the breath and the chi to the lower dantian. Exhaling, continuing on down to the perineum. Inhaling all the way up to the big spine point where the cervical spine meets the thoracic spine. And then exhaling to the center of the palms. Continue inhaling and exhaling at your own pace, allowing the mind to relax into the breath, allowing the breath to relax the body, and allowing the circular route to help the flow of chi, the communication between the organ systems, as well as the communication between the front of the body and the back of the body. Allowing the circulation of qi to soften any stagnations, instigating the free flow of qi. As we relax further into this breathing exercise. Getting ready to close. Gently opening the eyes, releasing the arms and closing by bringing that left foot back to the right. With that same mind intent, we're opening up for Reach for Happiness, our lung and large intestine exercise of the Golden Eight. Inhaling, exhaling, in and out, inhaling, exhaling, in and out, continuing on at your own pace, allowing each breath to flow into the next. And allowing the breath and the movement to harmonize, coming together. Getting ready to close. closing. Our Archer exercise for the heart and small intestine, opening. Inhaling. Exhaling. In. And out. Getting ready to close. Closing. Between heaven and earth, our spleen, stomach. Inhaling. Exhaling. In. And out. Inhaling. Exhaling. Getting ready to close. Closing. Our Sanjiao exercise, turn and look back. Inhaling, exhaling, in, and out. Inhaling, exhaling, allowing the breath to generate the movement. Getting ready to close. Closing. Liver and gallbladder, twist and release. Inhaling. And exhaling. In. And out. Allowing the movement to be an expression of the breath. Getting ready to close. Closing. Our kidney and urinary bladder exercise, bend for health. Inhaling. Exhaling. In. And out. Inhaling. Exhaling. In. Out. Inhaling back to the start. Getting ready to close. Closing. Our energy jump exercise for the Ren channel. Inhaling. Exhaling. In. And out. Getting ready to close. Closing. Our Do channel exercise. Energy jump, 2 parts. Inhaling and exhaling. And transitioning to our part 2. Inhaling as the arms come up. Exhaling as they come down. Closing. Keeping the feet as close together as possible so that we can retain all that wonderful energy that you've been cultivating over the past half hour. Bringing the palms together, transferring some of that wonderful energy to the palms so that we may then bring it to the face. Washing the face 9 times. Wiping the brow and under the eye. Wiping up and down the entirety of the nose. And then circling inward and outward at the bottom, middle, and upper aspects of the nose. underneath the pupil at the cheekbone. And then using all the fingertips, dredging the channels of the scalp. Beating the drum. Grasping the ears. Popping the cork. Philtrum mandibular crease, inward and outward. And then massaging the jaw. Our number now changes to 12 times total, or 6 times each side. Continuing down the breastbone. Palms at the lower dantian, circling up the right and down the left. We're starting to guide and gather all that wonderful energy into the lower dantian 9 times. And then switching directions. Here we're concentrating that energy. Once you've completed 9 circles, resting the palms at the lower dantian, closing the eyes. Inhaling through the nose, guiding the breath in the chi to the lower dantian, allowing it to fill up with energy. Exhaling, allowing that energy to settle and store so that you may use it throughout the rest of your day. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace. Allowing the mind to relax. Allowing the body to relax. And allowing the chi to settle and store. Thank you, wonderful Qigong family. Henry, we are ready for our Chi Chat.
Good morning, good morning. Hello. Happy Friday. Thanks, Mary Frances, for joining us and teaching us, leading us on with these exercises. Awesome. Man, okay. We are at the end of this week, so I want to make sure that we cover applications of, well, we've been talking about control cycle and the 5 elements. And so I want to today talk a little bit more distinction about how do we use this control cycle? How do we use this generating cycle? Well, one of the things is you want to figure out, like, well, what's for what, right? So generating cycle is for, usually we say if you have a weakness in an element, like if you're weak in your wood element, you're weak in your fire, then you want to use more of the generating cycle, because generating means you're trying to create more of something. As opposed to the control cycle. Control cycle is usually when we want to tackle when you have too much of something, an excess of something. So what is excess and what is deficiency? Okay, so we want to talk about that today. Again, I'm trying to teach you guys in layers so it doesn't get too overwhelming. Okay, so let's go through the elements and understand what is excess and what is deficient within an element. And I want to talk to you in terms of things that we relate to in real life, like personality, tendencies, things like that. What do we see in ourselves? What do we see in other people? So I'm going to bring up that good old 5 elements just to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay. All right. So we have our 5 elements here. Okay. Wood, fire, earth, metal, water. And quickly, the generating cycle is the next elements in the clockwise direction. So wood generates fire, fire generates earth, earth generates metal, metal generates water, and water generates wood. Okay. And the control cycle is you skip an element. So in this case, wood controls earth, fire controls metal, earth controls water, metal controls wood, and water controls fire. All right, so we reviewed all this. So hopefully you have a pretty confident sense of what these mean. Okay, so let's closely examine wood. All right, so what is excess wood? What is deficient wood? Okay, so in order to understand that, what is normal wood? All right, what is wood about? Wood is about, okay, wood is about smooth flow in the body. And what that means is, like, if you're on a freeway and there are no traffic jams, oh my God, no slowdowns, that's when wood is really happy, because things are just flowing, there's no stagnation, you're able to go from point A to point Z without, detours, without stopping, things like that. So wood is about really that flow, that growth, that direction. And usually direction means like one direction, not the band, but, think about wood like growing in one direction, not like my hair where it's kind of growing a little bit overflowing. Okay. So that's normal wood, is that flow, so we can look at it like an athlete who there's some competitiveness, there's some drive, get things going. So that's wood energy. Too much is like think about maybe like 50 is like your balance, right? And that's relative to everybody. Okay. So 100 would be like overflowing, too much wood, too over competitive. And think about also the emotions of anger and passion. So too much anger and too much passion. And that would be an excess of wood. But what's the opposite side? When are you deficient in wood? If you don't have that drive, if you don't have any competitiveness, if you don't have any connection perhaps to the anger and no connection to the passion. So I'm talking about extremes. Okay, probably you have like maybe you're at like 10 out of 100, deficiency, or maybe 30 out of 100 deficiency. Maybe you're in excess just a little bit, maybe 60 over 100, or maybe 95. Okay, so that would be the excess realm. So to help you understand, hopefully that gives you a little understanding of too much versus too little. Okay, so let's look at fire. What does fire mean? Okay, we look at fire as leading by the heart, right? Spontaneity, that social connection, having joy and fun, that's the emotion, but also mania. Okay, so excess fire is you're too much in that spontaneity, even when the situation doesn't call for it. So it's also about adjusting to what the current present is and being able to be fluid within that. So too much fire, too overjoy, too much of that ungroundedness and fiery sparks. So that's on the excess side. On the deficient side is you don't have that spontaneity. You don't really have that connection. Maybe you're closed off from the world. You just don't have that connection to others. You're not really leading by your heart. Maybe you can't feel it. Okay, so that's more the fire deficiency. All right, so that's about the heart. That's about the spirit. That's about who you are, like that shine in your eyes. Okay, so some people may have too much shine. It's like, whoa, okay, that's way too much sparkle for me. and other people might have a very dullness to the eyes. And that's what we say is deficient fire. Okay, so over to wood. All right, wood is about groundedness, rootedness, is about nurturing, nurturing others especially. So excess wood, I like going back to wood for some reason, but we're talking about earth. Okay, so earth energy, if you have too much of it, it's like you're the over-nurturer. Sometimes you're maybe to the extent of smothering, and other people are like, oh man, this is too much. Okay, I had 10 cookies, thank you. Maybe I don't need another 5 for this moment. So that's the over-nurturing, over-worrying, because you're over-worried about making sure that everyone else is okay. So earth, emotions, worry, and sympathy, okay? So too much of that can be overbearing for a lot of people. So what's on the other side, the deficient side of earth, is that, of course, under-nurture. You're just cold and aloof. And also you're not grounded, okay? Because earth is all about being grounded and being very stable, very steady. And when you're deficient earth, you just feel really unsteady. You don't feel grounded. You don't feel like eating. You feel undernourished. So that's earth. Okay, metal. All right, so metal, we're looking at clarity, okay? We're looking at separating the clear from the turbid is what we say in the body. For example, because metal has a lot to do with your lungs and large intestine. Lungs, right, you breathe in, okay? And from there, your body separates the clear, the chi, that goes to the rest of the body, and the turbid. It expresses, we can say in real life, like it's breathing out the, carbon dioxide. Okay, you're breathing out oxygen, you're separating the two. Basically, your body's trying to find what's useful and keep, and pull out what is not useful. Same thing with the large intestine, right? You poop out things that you don't want, and you keep what you do want as nourishment. Okay, so metal is all about that clarity. It's about trying to understand, trying to find, making things very clear. So there's a tendency for metal to be perfectionist, but oftentimes it can be very good. You want people who do things well, do things right, but too much of that, right? It becomes a bit, if you're not the perfectionist and someone who is, you might be like, whoa, that person's very uptight. That person's like way too detail oriented. So, that perfectionistic can be very grating on other people. It can be very cutting. It can seem like a lot of criticism to people. So over too much of that would be excess. And then on the other side of metal, deficient metal, okay, so also metal is about organization. So a deficient metal person would be quite messy, and they don't quite care about perfection. They don't really care about stuff. All right, and that aloofness just gets even worse. All right, so that gives you a sense of excess metal, deficient metal. And finally, we come to water. So water, we say, is about wisdom, right? Emotion of wisdom and also fear, but they both go together. Because when you understand your fears, when you're able to embrace them, when you're able to work around them, that's when you gain wisdom in your life. So when we look at excess water, okay, too much fear, maybe you get a little bit too aloof, also in a sense of not thinking about, not being rooted in the reality that we live, because water is a dreamers, right? They're the people who have a lot of big imaginations. They're in the dream world a lot. And so when you spend a lot of time in that water, you may be not connected with reality and where we are today, because you're thinking about the bigger picture. So excess water is like that, okay? Deficient water can also look a little like the earth, in meaning that you can also feel very ungrounded, because water, there's a certain calmness and stability to water too, like for example, a calm lake or pond. The water looks very peaceful, okay? So when you have deficient water, you're also not using your gift of wisdom. You're not able to appreciate your fear. You're more anxious. You're more unstable with the emotions. So your water can tend to just become very lacking in terms of being able to fuel who you are. Gary S., OCD is too much metal. Yes, it is, okay? Yes. So OCD, that perfectionist tendency, you want things a certain way. And being too dwelling into that, not able to see, kind of being able to relax it from time to time, that's excess metal, okay? So now we have a sense of what is excess and what is deficiency when we see it within ourselves, when we see it in other people. And that's when you know when should you apply a generating cycle or a control cycle, or what in this chart it says overcoming cycle is what I'm referring to as control cycle. So let's see, Corey asks, if you focus on a particular exercise to generate the element that comes after it, are you always automatically controlling the element 2 steps ahead that the exercise is tied to? That's a good question. Okay, so it depends what you're trying to do, all right? So you could either be, so let's say you are, you're working on a wood exercise, all right? So wood exercise is a liver gallbladder exercise. Okay, so that's gonna help with your gallbladder liver, all right? It's also gonna help generate fire, okay? Because when we're connecting with that wood energy, okay, you're working with also that flow of passion and anger, connecting with that. And that in turn generates fire for you or in other people, okay? But it can also control the earth. And what we mean by that is that earth, right, tends to be very still. It tends to not move, both in a good way and a bad way. And I'm gonna talk more in a bad way where you wanna move that earth, it's just not budging, it's just stuck. Like a very sticky glue on your wall that you're trying to get off and you just can't because it's just very stuck on there. So the wood is gonna go in there and be able to really get that off. So it works in all those dimensions, absolutely. So when you do an exercise, it has multifaceted benefits to it. But where your intent is also going to drive which of this is going to help more. But naturally, without thinking about it, it's going to help with the control of the earth. It's going to help with generating fire if you're working on a wood exercise. And similarly with the other exercises and the other elements too. Okay, so thank you for letting me talk for a long time today. We covered a lot, and I want to talk a little bit more about these interactions of the elements. This is where it gets really interesting, but also complicated, because we don't often see these classic cases of just excess one element or deficiency of another element. We're complicated beings, and we have a mix of excess and deficiencies. So trying to be able to like parse through the different layers is important, both from if you're trying to diagnose, you're trying to understand, you're trying to get a better feel for what's going to work best for you and what's going to work best for people you love, people who you work with. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We will see you tomorrow, Saturday. We're going to learn a new exercise. We're going to learn the lung and large intestine exercise from the basic 8. So we are working more on the basic 8 so we can practice more of that in the future. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you.